Hey guys, I'm struggling with my thesis statement for this assignment. I'm not sure how to start.
No worries, Sam. We're here to help. What's your topic and what are you trying to argue or explain?
Yeah, tell us more about your assignment, and we can brainstorm together.
I'm writing about Tom Sawyer's struggle to align with the expectations of being a good boy in his town. I know it's a big topic, but I can't figure out how to make it into a clear thesis statement.
That's a great topic. To make it more manageable, think about a specific aspect or question related to Tom's behavior and how it affects his relationship with his family. What angle are you taking?
I chose to show how Tom's adventurous behaviors often led to frustration in his community. My thesis is, Tom Sawyer's temper prevents him from truly becoming the good boy his town wants him to be, and Sid and Aunt Polly detest him for that. By the way, Sarah, the other day, you mentioned a method you learned in class. What was it again?
Sure, Sam, the LSU method is highly reliable. Ever since I learned about it, I've consistently received A grades on my essays. It helps ensure that your thesis statement is debatable, your position is clear, and that you base your argument on factual evidence and relevant examples.
That sounds like a solid method. Tell us more about it.
Great! Let's use the LSU method to improve Sam's thesis statement. I have my notebook with me. Let's dive in.
But before we help Sam with her thesis draft, let me introduce myself. My name is Sarah, and I'm a high school sophomore. I created ComComp to be able to help my fellow students with writing. So I'm going to show you the LSU method, and when we know it, we're going to help Sam improve her thesis. The LSU method separates your thesis into 3 parts, analyzes each part, and polishes them to ensure that each is as good as it can be and that they stand together to make a coherent sentence. Let's look at the different individual parts of the LSU method. The L in LSU is delimited. It focuses on the subject and makes sure that the subject of the thesis statement is well defined and not too broad. If the limited were to answer a question about the thesis statement, it would answer, what or whom is the essay focusing on? The S in LSU is the specific. This part of the thesis statement is going to focus on the action, the verb in the sentence. It's going to make sure that the subject is doing, being, or becoming something that can be argued in the thesis, and that can be also proved. And finally, the U in LSU is the unified. Sometimes the unified can be the direct object, but it doesn't really have to. It always consistently links all the parts of the thesis together. It's almost like a bond maker. The question that the unified answers is, how do the subject and the verb relate? What is their common theme? After you write the draft of your thesis, you're going to want to revise it to make it meet all the requirements that your thesis needs. Let's take these 2 thesis statements and identify their parts. As you'll see, sometimes dividing the thesis statements into their limited, specific, and unified parts can leave us with nonsense parts grammatically, but we want to focus on the meaning of a sentence itself. So don't worry if you have a bit of a sentence that just doesn't make sense. These 2 theses are from the books Tales of the Greek Heroes and The Secret Garden. So now, let's look at the first example. Hercules' strong will caused his downfall. Which part is the limited? We said that the limited is the subject, or the who in this sentence. So what would be the limited in this thesis? You got it! It's Hercules, but not only Hercules. Hercules' strong will. Now, can you identify the specific? The specific plays the role of the verb in a sentence. So, we're going to look for our verb in our thesis, which is, that's right, caused. Well, we only have 2 words left, so we're going to have to assume that those are going to be our unified. We can even see how the unified is linking the specific and limited together. The downfall is because of his strong will, and caused is just explaining what it did to Hercules. Every part of this thesis corresponds to the other. That was pretty easy. Let's take another example to keep practicing dividing our thesis into 3 parts we can work with. This is our secret garden thesis. Let's identify the limited once again. It's going to be the subject, Mary Lennox's transformation. The essay is focusing on solely her transformation. Continuing on, the specific is going to be shown by her interactions with her new settings. In this essay, we're going to be exploring the actions that her transformation caused her, and we're going to have examples. You see, we can already kind of get a grasp on what we're going to be reading about in our essay just from our thesis. The unified is going to be all the other parts that we haven't selected yet. The central theme of the secret garden. It's linking the subject back to the verb, and also giving the background context for the essay. This thesis is saying the central theme is the transformation. Nice work! Now, let's revisit Sam's thesis draft from the beginning of a video. Let's read it and see what she wants to talk about. Tom Sawyer's temper prevents him from truly becoming the good boy that his town wants him to be, and Sid and Aunt Polly detest him for that. This thesis is focusing on Tom's temper, his struggle to be a good boy, and his community's disappointment. Let's separate this thesis into 3 parts as we just practiced, and analyze those parts with the LSU method. The limited is going to be Tom Sawyer's temper. It's the subject of his thesis. The specific is going to be prevents him, and everything else after that is going to be our unified. From truly becoming the good boy that his town wants him to be, and Sid and Aunt Polly detest him for that. We've broken this thesis down into more manageable parts. Let's start like we always do, with the limited. Our limited subject is Tom Sawyer's temper. Let's fact check that. Do we really have enough evidence to back up Tom's temper problem? When I investigated the novel, I only found a few instances of Tom getting mad. Just a couple of things happening are isolated incidents. Tom being angry is not a pattern for his character at all. So what does this mean? We don't have enough evidence to support the claim about Tom's temper problem. We need to find an aspect of Tom that the author actually wanted to portray in his writing. After brainstorming a little bit, I came up with Tom Sawyer's sense of adventure, which lands him into more actual trouble than him getting mad at people around him. Now, let's move on to our specific. The limited, specific, and unified are all connected. Therefore, if we change one part, we're going to need to revise the other so everything makes sense. Let's look at this specific that we had before we changed the limited. Prevents him. It's not going to be accurate anymore because our subject has changed. We're going to need to further develop new ideas so we can have a clear thesis. It's worth noting that there's no mention of any reward for Tom's good behavior or any competition between Tom and his family to earn the title of being a good boy. Tom seems more interested in having fun, and he doesn't care about the consequences of his actions. He doesn't have any remorse for his behavior, and there's a lot of evidence that he's driven by his adventure, which is our limited. So, playing on this theme of adventure, we can go on and start to develop that and make a new idea. His adventurousness versus his duties as a boy. So, my new specific is going to be causes him to blur the line. I'm going to be developing on this idea even more in my unified, which is up next. We know that we have Tom's sense of adventure causes him to blur the line. And now we're going to finish our thought up. Let's look at what we have as evidence in our book to continue our thought process. I'll put up our old unified for reference. Going back to my fact-checking, I went through the book and didn't find any striking passages where Sid and Aunt Polly openly described having hate for Tom. We don't have enough evidence to support what we want to say there. So this unified is not only not matching up with the themes we've established, but also it's just not factually correct. We're going to have to toss this one in the bin. I took some time to think about what Tom's sense of adventure could be causing him to blur the line of, and I came up with family and fun. This refers both to Sid and Polly in the old unified, and the specific, what is being blurred, and the limited. What is causing the blurring? Tom's sense of adventure. The family is Tom's family, and his town is Tom's town. Let's compare our two thesis statements. Tom Sawyer's temper prevents him from truly becoming the good boy his town wants him to be, and Sid and Aunt Polly detest him for that. Versus, Tom Sawyer's sense of adventure causes him to blur the lines between family and fun. It's much shorter, and it's making more of a claim too. Everything looks better and more polished. We can also go and start trying to see if there's any more flaws with our construction. Just like scientists testing out their new inventions, we need to look at counter-arguments and other questions we can ask ourselves concerning our thesis. You should ask yourself, is your thesis a complete sentence? Yes, it is. There's a period and proper punctuation. We can support our thesis in our writing with the evidence from our text about his adventures and how other people in his town think about it. We can go through and find quotations for it, and our writing can provide enough evidence to support our thesis. Why? Because every part of a thesis we've constructed is clear. The limited, specific, and unified let us sit down and be able to work on separate parts of our thesis before combining everything together to have a completely synchronized thesis. Every part of it is going to make sense. Going off of the questions that we just talked about, we need to be able to prove what we speak about. You should go through your text and find at least 3 pieces of evidence that you can use for your argument. Here are some excerpts that I found. The whitewashing incident, where Tom convinces his friends to do his work for him. I thought that this one showed his sense of adventure by how he was able to convince others to do his work for him just through charm. My second piece of evidence was when Tom was exploring the cave. It kind of shows his recklessness on how he's just able to go into a dark cave and be stuck there for a pretty long amount of time. He doesn't care about risks, he's just in there for the thrill. My third piece of evidence that I thought fit Tom was when they witnessed the murder in the graveyard. He chose to keep the secret from the town, not only because it was a gruesome event, but he also wanted to keep his excitement to himself. This incident shows how Tom can make morally complex choices, and through the story, we explore how he deals with that. This is a very good piece of evidence to show his character through his adventures. I hope this video helps you like it helped Sam with her thesis statement. Thank you for sticking around. In my next video, I'll be showing you how to write a captivating introductory paragraph.